Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. The initial first day recording of Apron Work Podcast, starring three of the biggest wrestling fans you know. My name is Matt Wallen. Joining me today is the lovely and beautiful Michael Respass. Michael Respass, you there, bud?
Yes, I am. How's it going, Walt?
It's going well. And then the other Michael, not to be confused with the current Michael Peachy.
How's it going?
It's going good. Are we excited?
Oh, I'm excited.
I know.
I'm super excited.
Yeah, it was either arguing with you two for an hour or watching cooking shows with my mom because I'm 30 and live with my mom. So
you made the wrong choice.
Yeah,
we'll see how that goes. But so now Peachy, before we started recording, brought up an interesting fact that today is Nakamura's birthday. But do either of you guys also know what today is?
Rusev Day?
There you go.
There you go.
Of course, we had to do our initial podcast recording on Rusev Day. That'd be only appropriate. So, a fun topic of conversation for today. So, before starting this, we had a couple ideas of what we wanted to record as the first episode. But, after some heated debate at the recent NXT TakeOver Philadelphia event, I think we came around and started to realize what a heated debate really is in the world of professional wrestling, since apparently both Peachy and Respass have no idea what the fuck they're looking at in the ring.
I'm hanging up.
Yeah, well, you probably should. So, topic of debate today is going to be Johnny Gargano and Andrade Cien Almas from NXT TakeOver Philadelphia, comparing that match to Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura at NXT TakeOver Dallas. So, I'll let you guys open it up, like I said earlier on. So, I'll let you guys kind of throw your opinions out there of the Gargano-Cien match, and then the opinions of Nakamura-Zayn.
All right, Peach, you, me.
You can go first, Rusev.
Okay. I'm ashamed of myself.
Well, you're wrong.
Yes.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. No, I'm ashamed of myself because, as you both know, and as our few, probably two listeners will soon find out,
it's going to be Fico sharing a status on Facebook that this video, this audio gets views. He's going to say share it and listen to these guys. It's awesome, but with never actually listening to it. Love you, Fico.
We were actually in Dallas for the Zayn Nakamura match, and we were in Philadelphia for the Gargano.
Interesting
Cien
comparison
Almas.
between both events. I was really drunk.
And see, the problem was, I was not really drunk in Dallas. By the time Cien Almas or Gargano started, I was pretty drunk because we had box seats in Philly. So watching them live is was a little different. After rewatching the matches, I see what everybody's saying with Gargano Almas. I do. It's not as clear cut as I thought it was at the time, but it's still. It depends on the way we were looking at it. If we're looking at it when we watched it live in person at the arena, that match still can't touch Nakamura Zayn. It just can't. Even rewatching it. Now, we're also talking about a TakeOver pre-WrestleMania as opposed to a TakeOver pre-Rumble, and I get that, but the matches live in person, it was a different beast with Nakamura and Zayn. Now, with everything going on in the Gargano Almas match, with the title, the interference, Gargano, the unpredictability of the match because you knew Nakamura was going to win. You didn't know if Gargano was going to win or not. You almost held out that hope that he was going to win. Even though you kind of felt like he wasn't, you never really thought Zayn was going to win the Nakamura-Zayn match. You knew Nakamura had to win. It was his first match. There was no way he was going to lose that match. But live in person, And that's the way I'm deciding between these two. Nakamura Zayn can't be touched. It just can't be touched. It was not the same. Crowd reaction was not the same. Rewatching it on TV, well, on the network, Gargano Almas is almost 1A in my mind. It can't beat the live experience.
Oh, well, Gargano Cien was 1A in my books as I was watching it. That match was incredible. But Peach, give your opinion, because if I'm correct, you had rated the tag team match between Red Dragon and the Authors of Pain as the top match of the night. So please, let's hear your opinion on this.
I just thought it was better. Like, so you were saying like the crowd reaction.
Yeah, you're wrong, but it's fine. But continue.
You were talking about the crowd reaction in Dallas,
Yeah.
or Arlington, or wherever we were. That. Like, does that bring up the question, is the difference of the fan bases? Like, because the Nakamura Zayn match, the crowd was just so much more into it. In Philly, it wasn't. The reaction was completely different.
Well, so to give, like, yeah, you're going to have it. They're two different crowds. TakeOver Dallas was a WrestleMania weekend to where you had fans from all over the world there for that match. So you had all of wrestling converging into a single spot. For TakeOver Philly, you just had mostly Philly fans. You know, a couple people traveled out of, Mike traveled all the way from the event, which, is a very rough commute, as Mike found out later that night. But it's a different matches, but to the Gargano chomp,
You can't
Gargano
take
chomp
to begin with.
Yeah, I know, I can't talk, and somehow I want to do a podcast. And also might be doing a video game streaming thing, who knows.
Oh, with him.
Yeah, well, I'll talk to you later about it. But the Cien Gargano match, it was long. It was much longer than Nakamura Zayn. Nakamura Zayn had got like 20 minutes or something like that. At least that's what I remember. Mm-hmm. The Cien and Gargano, they got like 45 minutes, I think. That's a fucking match.
It's just long.
Like it was, but it was a long, drawn out story. It was a long, drawn out story of Gargano, who is by far the best natural babyface they have going today. Nobody is touching him. The reaction, I disagree with your opinion about the reaction, how the crowd wasn't alive for that. The crowd was intense for that. Gargano cannot be touched on his crowd reaction. And then plus when you had Candice LeRae jump in halfway through, who she is, they're going crazy because that told for a great story because it countered what the fuck her Mike, what's her name? You rewatched it. Sienna Vega, the Austin Aries' girlfriend. I forget what the fuck her name is.
I don't know. Is Respect still on the call?
Respass, you here? Ah, this is great. Awesome. This is off to a swell start. Alrighty, and as expected, we had our first technical difficulties thanks to Mike Respass. Great job.
You're welcome.
It's
You're
great.
welcome.
Yeah, so...
yeah. I mean, who cleans, who unplugs things without knowing where they lead to? You know?
It's the fucking best.
I want the bubbles from my drink to be in this. So.
Yeah. While we were having technical difficulties, Peachy read off some birthdays for us. So that's where we're at. So let's go back to the matter at hand, people. Nakamura Zayn, Gargano's, Almas. Which match is better? All that fun stuff. I'll try to mix this somewhat together so it doesn't sound like a complete disaster. Even though like most things I do, it's a complete disaster. So, alright, so what it seemed like before Mike left us, Respass, we were talking about crowd reactions for both matches.
The difference
I'll give
between
so
audiences. The Philly crowd
and,
versus the Dallas crowd.
Here's the thing. Philly's a better wrestling town than Dallas, hands down. No question even about that. But you had the confluence of, it was a WrestleMania weekend to where everybody, wrestling-wise, was in Dallas. NXT was the hot ticket for that weekend. It was their first takeover that they did at WrestleMania that was an actual event. The year before, it was they did like a takeover house show in, I want to say, not San Diego or, I forget where it was at, but it was basically a house show. This was the first one, so this was a big one. Plus, you had two huge debuts that night. Not only was Nakamura debuting that day, Austin Aries did too.
Yeah.
So
surprisingly, that match kind of
well, it got overshadowed. It got overshadowed by Nakamura.
Yeah.
They had no shot of competing with that whatsoever.
Well, and that was actually one of the things I was looking at too. That match, because honestly, Baron Corbin was involved with it. It didn't get to show off much of Aries. Aries won on a roll-up. It went from American Alpha winning the tag titles to kind of almost like a filler match. I know it was his first match there, but it almost came off like a filler match. It gave the crowd time to kind of die down, which then you led into Gargano Almas with probably the most anticipated match of the night in a lot of people's eyes.
Second, but yeah.
For
me personally, I was looking.
Not only is it Aleister Black, Adam Cole,
baby,
but it's an Extreme Rules match.
Yeah.
So you're coming right off that. They didn't put anything in between. Honestly, the best thing they could have done was make that the third match or even the first match of the night.
Man,
and separate it with the women's title match, which was
right, a pee break.
Yeah.
It was good, but it wasn't the quality to what NXT women's matches have been in the past. But all right. So crowd reaction, but like that match built up throughout the entire thing. Gargano fighting the entire time. Like I was on the edge of my seat. I didn't know who was going to win. Like right. I legitimately for everything, and that's always a great feeling in wrestling. Because of how much I'm a nerd and I just sit there and read everything that's going on in the industry and shit like that. I know exactly, what can happen, but for that match, I'm like, I had no idea. Are they going to try to set up Gargano Ciampa for the title at the next TakeOver? Are they just going to be a regular match? Because I don't think Gargano Ciampa needs the title in their match. They continue to build up Almas, which was great because I wasn't expecting him to win the title from McIntyre at the last TakeOver. I think it was TakeOver Brooklyn. I think he won was it Brooklyn? Yeah, I think it was Brooklyn. He won the title at. Or no, it was the Survivor Series one. War Games. He won the title at War Games. So that was refreshing in its own right. The story with Gargano and Selena Vega distracting Gargano, then Candice LeRae coming in and fighting on Gargano's side, which was great to see since she recently signed. That kind of balanced everything out. And plus you had Gargano never giving up throughout the entire thing, just constantly fighting. Cien with the fucking double knees to the outside turnbuckle was incredible. Didn't expect to see that. The technical nature of it too, the working on the limbs, all that, like it was a 40-minute match, which was built up, which was why where part of this came from is I was like, this match is getting 5 stars by Meltzer.
I don't know who he is. Meltzer?
Well, no,
he's a filthy casual.
There you go. That's what I was looking for. So Meltzer gave it 5 stars, and as I was watching the match, I was like, he's giving us 5 stars. It was the first 5-star WWE match since Cena Punk Money in the Bank 2011. I disagree that it's the first since then, but it was up there. But that match had it all. Again, Nakamura Zayn, to me, Nakamura Zayn is the best match I've ever seen live. I won't debate that one. I think we're all kind of on the same page with that.
And that's where I'm coming from with the match. Yeah. It's more about what I seen live
at the time, because
everything with the match.
So I think Gargano Cien was a better match, I enjoyed Zayn Nakamura better.
Right. Technically versus emotionally.
I probably agree with that. Yeah, because that's it, honestly, and rewatching it. Unfortunately, most wrestling events, that might be the first wrestling event I ever went with you, Walt, that I got out of my seat.
Which one?
I mean,
TakeOver.
The NXT in Philly. It might be the first one. I don't get up. The Royal Rumble, I didn't get up at all. If you notice, you're usually getting me drinks and stuff. But we had the club box seats. I was up by the bar watching it a lot. You know, we got food. I was sitting up there. It was a different experience for me as far as wrestling goes. So by the end of the night, I wasn't sitting in my seat. Would I have felt differently if had I been sitting there all night? Maybe. But even rewatching it, the moves, there was some stuff I'd never even seen in a match before in Gargano and Almas. There just was. There was stuff that made me like, you know, just be like, how the hell they pull that off? Or, you know, that could have went wrong in so many ways, and they seemed to hit it almost perfectly or close to perfect. My problem
didn't Cien do like a moonsault to the outside? Am I thinking of the right thing?
He did the one where was it the moonsault where he landed on his feet because Gargano moved, and then he almost did like the double moonsault. He did the standing,
that was real good.
The standing front flip.
Yeah,
after it.
Yeah.
That was really good. I mean everything with the biggest problem I had comparing the two is Zayn and Nakamura was a match. Like, it was about the match, and that was it. There wasn't outside interference. There wasn't the title added onto it. Now, that can make a great match, and I think that's probably why that is viewed in a lot of people's eyes as a better match. But for me, Nakamura and Zayn needed nothing. Nothing. That could have been Nakamura's 12th match in NXT, and we could have had no idea if Zayn was staying, and I think it still gets pretty close to the same reaction.
Disagree. You say there's no story with the Zayn Nakamura. Yeah, a bunch of story there. Zayn's coming
there
back.
was a story.
But that fed into the emotion of the match, too. Because you had Zayn coming back off injury. He returned at the NXT London tapings, I forget, a couple months ago. And it was, you know, I forget if he got a title shot or a title opportunity or things like that. But then he debuted at the Rumble. And it was like, all right, he was getting called up. So they basically, the story was, and even in NXT stance, it was, I remember Regal came out and he was like, Zayn, you deserve a really good match. Here's who your match is going to be with. And then it was Nakamura, because Nakamura had just signed. And it was just basically, here's your farewell, have a good match, just go at it, and it doesn't matter who wins or anything like that. It's just kind of for pride. But then you had the build-up of Sami Zayn was the heart and soul of NXT for years. Because, again, we were talking about it earlier. WWE...
Has anybody been the heart and soul for NXT? Like, it's such a turnover.
Yeah, Gargano's been in it, I think, since he's come in.
What's that, 2 years?
Then that's probably what Zayn was about, too. 2 to 3 years.
And I get what you're saying, Walt, and that's what I said. It might have enhanced it a little bit, but you knew Zayn was gone.
That's what
he was literally wrestling on Sunday. He was wrestling on Sunday in the ladder match. So, you knew he was gone. You knew it was Nakamura's first match. They were going to put it. I guess with me, I'm saying like the story was almost written already. I didn't know what was going to happen in the Gargano match. I didn't know if Ciampa was going to cost him the title. I didn't know if that match was going to last 2 minutes because Ciampa came out. You know what I mean? You didn't know what was going to happen. Was Gargano going to win? Then Ciampa came out. He said there was so many avenues it was going. Nakamura and Zayn was going one place and one place only. I already knew the ending of that story before it even started.
I think everybody did. Everybody.
But that's my point. The story, it led into the match, but not nearly the same amount as Gargano and Almas did.
Yeah, but I think it's dumb to say, like, oh, if it was Nakamura's 12th match in NXT, it would have been just as good. No, because nobody from in the USA or WWE has ever seen Nakamura wrestle before. So he put on a show. It was that first match, like, boom, here's what I got. And he fucking blew the roof off the place. It was incredible. And the worst part about... And here's the other thing, too. And this is why I think that match also sticks out highly, is because the main event was such a dud. If you remember, it was Balor versus Joe for the title. Samoa Joe, or I think Joe or Balor, I forget who got busted open early on. The doctors were trying to stitch him up the entire match, and so they didn't even really have a match.
Joe got busted.
And so...
But
yeah, it was Joe that got busted. But that took away from the... So you brought up the Adam Cole, Aleister Black match took away a little bit from Cien Gargano. The fact that we didn't have a great main event with Balor and Joe adds to the fact of why Nakamura Zayn could be that much better. Just because you have nothing else to compare it to that night. Like Peachy was saying... So Peachy was saying earlier... Like, he really liked Red Dragon versus Authors of Pain. It was a fun match. And so that could take away from his opinion of Cien Gargano because he's comparing
I'm comparing it with the whole night.
Like,
it's not just that the tag team match was the best match. Like, it was... Every match on that card was...
I'm mostly just saying that because I want to point out that you thought Red Dragon...
I know.
Authors of Pain was the best match that night.
No, I didn't say
I
it was
enjoyed
the best
that match.
I just said it was better than the Cien Almas match.
But if we compared the two cards, that wasn't the best tag team match on both those cards. American Alpha versus the Revival was better.
That was great tag team wrestling.
And if I remember right, that was American Alpha's first
yes
tag team championship win. So now you lead off the night with them finally winning the tag titles. You put Corbin and Aries after it, which the crowd just didn't have anything left after Alpha won that. And now you put that match in there, and you follow it up with an actual women's match.
Oh, yeah, Bailey lost.
Bailey and Asuka.
That sucked everything out of the room. Oh, I almost cried at that one.
So
that was rough.
To be honest with you, Bailey or Joe had no... I mean, they would have had to do basically what Gargano Almas did.
And they could have.
More. They could have, but that's what they would have had to do to be remembered on that card. But you still remember Nakamura Zayn, and I get it, it's Nakamura's first match. But that match, the crowd reaction alone makes that match memorable.
Agreed.
They could have literally sat there and slapped each other for 25 minutes. And that crowd was so loud, so into it, that from the very beginning...
Also,
just you're going to remember it.
Remember, too, different venue, too, so that crowd seems louder. It was at the convention center thing to where it was only a 10,000-seat arena, so the sound was a lot better for...
being there, the people around me were louder.
I had, a weird Asian guy next to me. And
he wasn't Asian.
It was like... that bachelor party all over again. I was like a 12-year-old kid, and I'm like, man, I can't curse.
Did Asuka debut that night as well?
No, it was Asuka's first title match. Asuka
I was going to say, Asuka had the belt, right?
No, that was Bailey.
Yeah,
Bailey was
Bailey went the next night.
Bailey was champion going... No.
I thought Bailey was in...
No, well, you had 3 of the 4 horsewomen in the triple threat match at Mania. You had Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky for the title. Bailey didn't get her call up until after SummerSlam.
Yeah, that was that around draft time, right? Did she get drafted?
No.
It was post draft?
Yes, it was post draft because she was signed to Monday Night Raw by Foley.
Nah. Yeah, because I remember Bailey fought Asuka again for the title, right? And I think that's what I'm confusing it with. I think I'm picturing when she.
Bailey had a rematch
for the title.
Bailey had a rematch at Brooklyn too.
Okay.
Because they did I remember that one. They did a very good intro package for that one because only 2 people on that card were at Brooklyn 1, Samoa Joe and Bailey. So, but yeah. And so, as we were talking about this, it was funny when we were setting up to do this, WWE released a top 10 matches of NXT TakeOver. And obviously, both of these matches we're talking about are on that list. Nakamura Zayn comes in at number 6. Gargano Cien comes in as number 1. I don't have a problem with that. My biggest issue with this list, though, is that the fact that Bayley Sasha Banks 2, the Iron Man match, is listed as their number 2. And while that was a phenomenal match, first, women's Iron Man match, they headlined the TakeOver event, great story around it, stuff like that. How do you not put their fucking Brooklyn match on there? That was. I cried during that. I cry a lot during wrestling, but that's what happens when you're 30 and live with your mom.
The biggest.
At least when you have someone walk in your office door, it's your fiance. Walking into my door, it's my mom with a dog with a cone around his fucking head.
See, my problem with the list is it's a WWE.com list. I mean, it's all titles. It's all titles. There's 2 matches on this whole list that's not titles, and Sami Zayn and Nakamura is 6, and 10 is the very first TakeOver match in Sami Zayn Cesaro. I'm sorry, but being a triple threat elimination match or that doesn't make it a good match.
All these
they just pulled out gimmicks. They're all good matches, and I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the order they put them in was almost like, this is for a title and it's a gimmick. All right, let's put it up higher. I mean, the Pete Dunne Taylor Bate match
was incredible.
Was amazing. It was. It deserves to be up there. The Sami Zayn Neville, which was when Zayn finally won the title. I get it. I don't know that I put that above Nakamura with him Neville. I love that match. I loved him and Neville, but I don't know. The fact that it's for the title is what puts it ahead of it, and in their eyes. And I don't know that you really can do that.
I don't know. That was a good match.
The thing I remember most about that night was Kevin Owens coming out and powerbombing him on the apron. It was a good match. It was a very good match. I don't want to downplay the match, but the most memorable thing about that night was Kevin Owens turning on him. It absolutely was. I'm not remembering Ciampa coming out and hitting Gargano with his fucking...
Oh, I am. That fucker's in my head. Fuck Ciampa.
But that's not the thing I remember about the night.
Yeah.
I remember the match first, that's secondary, where Kevin Owens turned on Zayn, in my mind, outshines that match a little bit.
The only other thing I think should be... I don't think Asuka Ember Moon should be on this list. Because I think it was a good match. I think War Games should be on it. So I think that was revolutionary. Like, they brought that back and they did that right. I thought I think that's my only that and what is it? So just to go over the list real fast for the listening audience, in case they number 10 is Zayn Cesaro at the first NXT TakeOver event. Asuka versus Ember Moon at Brooklyn 3. AOP, DIY, and the Revival at NXT TakeOver Orlando. That was a fun match because Revival and DIY teamed up with each other and were doing each other's finishers. It was Ciampa and Dash, I think, did the Shatter Machine, and then Gargano and Dawson, I think, did the Super Kick. Number 7 is the Fatal 4-Way, the 4 Horsewomen, Banks, Lynch, Flair, and Bayley. That match was real good. Sasha won that one, and it was a great way to get her the belt. I wish they would get that character back to what it was. It was really good with that boss gimmick.
Oh my god.
Number 6, Zayn Nakamura. Obviously, we debated that one. 5 is DIY versus the Revival 2 out of 3 Falls match. Yeah, I was a little upset because this got Match of the Year for 2016, and it just upset me because then that overtook Zayn Nakamura. Yeah. And I think the only reason it got it was because it got more time. It was like a 30-40 minute match.
That's the thing. Not to get completely off this list, but rewatching the Nakamura Zayn match, I didn't realize how little time that match actually was. Yeah, it
was like,
felt a lot longer.
Yeah.
Like being there and sitting there watching. Even watching it, it felt long until I actually looked at how long it was.
Yeah, it was like 20 minutes. It was not that long of a match, but
no, and it might have been 20 minutes with entrance and the video package. Like
it took Nakamura 12 minutes to walk down the apron.
But that's I'm now when I'm looking at it, it's not. It really wasn't that long with everything included for the amount of time you would expect that to have.
Relatively, yeah. Number 4 is Bate versus Pete Dunne, UK Championship. Phenomenal match. That was my favorite match last year. Was it? Yeah, it was. Yeah, I don't think... I enjoyed that match, and this is where I'll get shit over, just because I thought it was... And even that one, that only got 20 minutes. But, like, last year, that was, you had the trilogy of Omega Okada, which those matches were... That's going to be a whole other podcast to talk about those. Also watched Golden Lovers versus Bullet Club this morning, which was phenomenal.
I can't wait for these episodes because PC's going to be
the second one's the best. Like,
when it comes to these
everybody knows that. I'm sorry, Walt. Number 3 doesn't know.
Yeah, well, fuck you. Number 3 in this list is Zayn versus Neville NXT Championship match. Again, great match. Like Mike said, it was the debut of Kevin Owens that night and really set up that feud. Which here's the one thing, they set up that feud perfectly because it just brought in the Zayn Owens story from the indie scene. Number 2, Bayley versus Sasha Banks, the 30-minute Iron Man match. Disagree. This needs to be the Brooklyn match. That Brooklyn match was absolutely incredible. The Iron Man match, I get it. I get why they probably put it because it main evented the TakeOver special, which actually worked out within the story of all NXT, not just let's throw the women at the main event. Because that one you had your champion Finn Balor and Samoa Joe in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic. So they put that match on before, finished off the night with Bayley versus Sasha for the Women's Championship. In a great match, but Brooklyn, that takes the cake there.
See, now, I'm trying to remember. I think I'm getting both these matches confused. Is this the one where Bayley pretty much tortured the superfan? Where Sasha tortured Bayley superfan?
Yes.
That was the Iron Man, right? I'm sorry, this one beats it. This one in my mind is better.
You're saying the Iron Man is?
The Iron Man was the match where she tortured her, like basically, I guess to waste a little time.
Why can't I think of her fucking name?
Izzy.
Izzy, thank you.
That's the match in my mind that like solidified Sasha as like a top heel. Like just watching her act in the ring. I know it's easy because of superfan and everything like that, but I don't know. It just it made me kind of hate Sasha Banks, which made me like her more.
Jesus Christ, you're fucking wrong. Like, opinions are like assholes, and you're one right now. Are you kidding me? You're fucking dumb. This is another one. This is another conversation later. Peachy, I don't even want to
agrees with me.
Yeah, of course he probably will, because your name's Mike's, and that's what works out. And then your number 1 match, Gargano versus Almas. NXT TakeOver Philadelphia. Hey, the nice thing about this is the number 1 match, according, best match ever, happened right here in Philly. We were there for it. I was drunk.
Yeah. Do you think they're only ranking it just because it's fresh, because it's new?
No, it got a lot of rave reviews.
Yeah,
Meltzer gave it a 5-star. I think it's getting up there because it's, like I said, it was Meltzer's first 5-star since CM Punk. CM Punk Cena. It definitely deserves to be up there.
I believe Asuka Ember Moon's up there because of that reason. I feel like they wanted to get an Ember Moon because she's the current champion, and they want to get her on this list. I believe that's why that match is there. And
also an Asuka match, too. Listen, the Ember Moon Asuka rivalry was real good, don't get me wrong. But yeah, like that was just thrown up there to get both of them on this list.
Yeah.
Gargano, Cien, that hands down deserves to be up there. So, all right. So, looking at my time clock, it looks like we argued about this for maybe 45 minutes, but it might actually only be 30 minutes since Mike doesn't know how to internet correctly. But so, all right. So we'll close this off real fast by which match did you like better? Gargano and Cien or Zayn Nakamura? Peachy, I'll let you go first. Alrighty. You want to add any more comments to that?
No, like that. That's the. I think the "Fight Forever" chant thing should only be used a handful of times, and I didn't think the NXT TakeOver. I don't think that match had the "Fight Forever" chant.
Fair enough.
You should have added Philly after that. They're both NXT TakeOver matches.
I know what he was talking about. Rest pass. What do you got?
Are we on to me?
We're on to you. I'm the most important one here, so I go last.
Well,
it's because my narcissism's at the highest. So
I'm gonna unfortunately flip flop here and say the better match live to be at in the arena when it was happening was Nakamura Zayn. After rewatching it as a match, the match I'd want to watch again and again and again is Gargano Almas. And I think it passed it. After rewatching it, I think it was a better match overall.
Fair enough. Look at you, coming to terms.
Walton's going to say the same
How
thing.
about that? For me, so my personal opinion, Zayn Nakamura, hands down, for me, is the best match I've ever seen live. My issue was when we were watching it, and you guys were like, "Oh, like there was a Fight Forever chant that started in the arena during Cien Gargano," and I think it was either Peachy or Rest Pass, one of you guys, were like, this doesn't deserve it, and I'm like, whoa, slow your roll, shut your mouth, you're wrong. I thought it was incredible. And I tried my best not to rewatch the match before doing this, but considering it took 6.5 weeks to get us together to start recording a podcast, short of me and Mike just fucking making YouTube videos at each other, I had to rewatch it. But Nakamura Zayn, but I think it's emotion playing into it. We went down for WrestleMania weekend, so it was that experience there. You know, Rest Pass and we've talked about going for years. We always said when it was at Cowboys Stadium, that's the one we want to go to see that arena. And on top of that, it was a great weekend. I drank a lot.
Absolutely.
So that coupled on top of that, Cien Gargano, I thought was incredible. It probably is the best match I will ever see live, because unless for whatever reason I get down to New Orleans this year to go see Styles Nakamura for the title, which, depending on when I get my income tax back, I might actually do. But I think Styles Nakamura has a shot at being a instant classic. But yeah, so I'm going Zayn Nakamura. So funny enough, at the night of NXT TakeOver, Mike Respace said, "Oh, I agree with Peach."
NXT TakeOver Philly.
Like, you're high right now. Thank you.
Now, when we talked about it that night, if you remember, we said live. We said we've seen both of these matches live, and me and Peach were both in agreement that Nakamura Zayn was better live, being there, being at it. It's in my mind, it's a completely different thing. I could sit at home and watch a match and like a match, but it was just there live. Sorry, but nothing can hold live can hold anything to that Nakamura Zayn. Like you said, unless it's Nakamura AJ.
But that's not going to be NXT anymore.
And I'm at it.
No, and it won't have the same feel. Yeah, it's going to be,
in an 80,000
stadium.
Which I think is perfect for their feud, because they wrestled already once in the Tokyo Dome, and that was probably 25,000. This is the next logical step for them. doing 80,000.
Yeah, but it's a different
arena.
crowd. Like
Oh,
it definitely has the NXT fans in it, but it's got all the other filthy casuals.
Go ahead, use your word. There you go.
And
Gotta
that's the thing. Like you're gonna have all the
catchphrase.
kids. You're gonna have
Put
all
it
the.
on a T-shirt.
It's a different reaction when it's in the bigger stadiums.
Yeah, and if the kid is not cheering for Styles or Nakamura, I'm gonna punch him in the face. Kick him right in the dick for any Roman Reigns shirts I see.
They got the split John Cena Roman Reigns shirt on.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Alrighty. So, we'll end it there. This probably ended up terribly because of technical difficulties and...
There was only one.
You're welcome. Again.
Yeah, well, I know it's also difficulties of me learning how to speak the English language. Somehow you guys said I should be the host of this, but we'll figure that out as we move along. So,
all right, I'm going to stop the recording.
Other than, hold on, don't, Peach, you don't put that in the podcast. You just, I'm supposed to sign off, and then we can stop the, recording.
It just needs to stay in there. This is how the first one has to finish.
Yeah, well. All right, if nothing else, you know what? Thank you guys for listening. I think they always say at the end of the YouTube videos, like, subscribe, share. Hopefully we get to continue to do more of these and make it a lot better. So, but this is the first one, and you always got to start somewhere. So, all right. Thank you guys again for listening. We will talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Peace.